Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spill the Pea. This week, we're getting into Parsha Beshalach. Shemot is absolutely one of my favorite books. And as usual, we are going to start with the summary of what's going on, and then we'll dive into the deeper meaning after. So, Pharaoh finally decides that he's going to release the children of Israel. However, Hashem didn't want to send them through the land of the Philistines because there was a war going on. And he figured if the people see a war, then there's a big possibility that they're just going to run back to Egypt. So Hashem led them towards the wilderness to the Sea of Reeds. And they were armed when they went up from Egypt. And also Moshe took the bones of Yosef with them out of Egypt. So the children of Israel journeyed from Sukkot and encamped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness. Hashem led them in a pillar of a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. It always remained with them. So Hashem speaks to Moshe and he's like, "Speak to the children of Israel and let them turn back and encamp before Pi Hahirot, between Migdol and the sea, before Baal Zephon. You shall encamp opposite by the sea. Pharaoh is going to come and say, the children of Israel are imprisoned on the land and in the wilderness has locked them in. And I'm going to strengthen his heart and he will pursue the children of Israel. And I will be glorified through Pharaoh and his entire army. And Egypt will know that I am Hashem." So of course they did what they were told. So Pharaoh heard that the children of Israel fled, and his heart and the heart of his servants were transformed. And they were like, "What did we do that they wanted to flee from serving us?" So Pharaoh gets his chariot and he got his people to follow him. He took 600 elite chariots of Egypt with the officers, and Hashem strengthened his heart some more. And he went after the children of Egypt, and the children of Israel were going out with an upraised arm. So Egypt pursued them, overtook them as they were by the sea, and Pharaoh approached, and the children of Israel raised their eyes, and they saw Egypt was journeying after them, and they were terrified and cried out to Hashem. And then they said to Moshe, "What? There weren't enough graves in Egypt, so you decided that it would be better for us to die in the wilderness? Why did you take us out of Egypt? Didn't we tell you just to leave us be and we would serve Egypt? Isn't it better just to serve Egypt than to die in the wilderness?" So Moshe was like, "Relax, don't be afraid, stand fast and see the salvation of Hashem that he will do for you. You see Egypt today, but you won't see them ever again. Hashem is going to make a war for you, and you are going to be silent." So Hashem says to Moshe, "Why are you crying to me? Speak to the children of Israel. Tell them to keep going. You lift up your staff and put your arm over the sea and split it, and the children of Israel will come into the midst on dry land. I will strengthen the heart of Egypt some more, and they'll chase after you, and I will be glorified through Pharaoh and his entire army, chariots, horses, and men. Egypt will know that I am Hashem when I am glorified." So the angel of God, who was in the front of the camp of Israel, went behind them. The pillar of cloud also moved behind them, and it was between the camp of Israel and Egypt. And there was a cloud and darkness, but it illuminated the night, and neither Egypt nor Israel got near each other in the night. So Moshe ends up stretching his hand over the sea, and Hashem moved the sea with a strong east wind the whole night. The children of Israel walked within the sea on dry land, and the water was a wall for them on their right and on their left. So, of course, Egypt came after them into the sea until the morning. They watched Hashem look down at the camp of Egypt with a pillar of fire and cloud, and it confused the camp of Egypt. So Hashem removed the wheels from the chariots so that they were difficult to drive, and Egypt was like, I'm going to flee Israel because Hashem is waging war for them. So then Hashem says to Moshe, stretch out your hand over the sea, and the water is going to go back upon all of Egypt. So Moshe did it, of course, and towards the morning, the water went back where it came from, and the Egyptians were fleeing. Not one of them survived. The children of Israel went on dry land in the midst of the sea, and again, the water was a wall for them on the right and the left. On that day, Hashem saved Israel from the land of Egypt, and Israel saw Egyptians dead on the seashore. And they revered Hashem and Moshe, his servant. So Moshe and the children of Israel chose to sing songs to Hashem, and Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took her drum, and all the women went after her with drums and were dancing. And Miriam told them to continue singing to Hashem. So Moshe caused Israel to journey from the Sea of Reeds, and they went to the wilderness of Shur. They were in the wilderness for 3 days, but couldn't find water. And so they came to Marah, but they couldn't drink the water because it was bitter. So the people started to complain to Moshe that they had nothing to drink in the middle of the desert. So Moshe cries to Hashem, and Hashem showed Moshe a tree, and he threw the tree into the water, and then the water became sweet. So Moshe said to the children of Israel, if you listen diligently to the voice of Hashem and do what is just in his eyes, give ear to his commandments and observe his decrees, then any of the diseases in Egypt I will not bring upon you, for I am Hashem, your healer. So then they arrived at Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 date palms, and they encamped by the water there. They continued their journey from Elim and arrived at the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after they left Egypt. All the children of Israel started to complain again to Moshe and Aaron. If we died by the hand of Hashem in Egypt, at least we would have meat and bread. You took us out here to the wilderness, and now you're going to starve us to death? So Hashem says to Moshe, I'm going to rain down food for you from heaven, so let the people take their portion for each day so that I can see if they're going to actually follow my teachings or not. And on the 6th day, when they prepare their food, they need to take double. So Moshe and Aaron told the children of Israel, in the evening, you're going to know Hashem took you out of Egypt. And in the morning, you'll see the glory of Hashem, that he heard you complaining about him. Who are we that you're complaining about us? So then Moshe continues, in the evening, Hashem will give you meat and bread to satiate you until the morning. And in the morning, he hears your complaints. So what are we? Your complaints aren't against us, but they're against Hashem. So Moshe tells Aaron to tell the children of Israel to approach the presence of Hashem because he heard them all complaining. So they turned to the wilderness, and the glory of Hashem appeared in a cloud. So Hashem tells Moshe, I heard the children of Israel complaining, so tell them in the afternoon they'll eat meat, and then in the morning they'll be sated with bread, and they will know that I am Hashem, your God. So in the evening, quail ascended and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew, and on the surface of the wilderness was something thin like frost on the earth. And the children of Israel saw this and realized it was food. So Moshe says to them, "This is the food that Hashem provided for eating. Gather it for every man according to what he eats, an omer per person, according to whoever is in your tent." So the children of Israel did as they were told, and whoever took more ended up with the exact amount that they needed, and also whoever took less ended up with the exact amount that they needed. So Moshe explicitly told them, "Don't leave anything until the morning." So, of course, they didn't obey Moshe, and the leftovers became infested with worms and smelled horrible, and Moshe got angry with them. So, on the sixth day, they gathered a double portion, 2 omers per person. And Moshe told them, "Hashem said tomorrow is a day of rest, a holy Shabbat. Bake what you want and cook what you want, and whatever is left over, save for tomorrow." So they did what he said, and there was absolutely no infestation the next day in the food. And Moshe said to them, "Eat today, because today is Shabbat. Today you won't find food in the fields. 6 days you gather, but the seventh day is Shabbat, and on it there will be nothing in the fields." So some people decided that they were going to go try to gather on the seventh day, and they found nothing. So Hashem says to Moshe, "How long are you going to refuse to obey my commandments and teachings? You see what Hashem has given you for Shabbat, so let every man remain in his place on the seventh day." So finally, the people decided that they were going to rest on the seventh day. The house of Israel called it manna, and it was like a coriander seed, and it was white, and it tasted like cake that was fried in honey. So Moshe said, "This is what Hashem commanded. A full omer will be safekeeping for your generations, so they'll know that the food I fed you in the wilderness when I took you out of Egypt." So Moshe told Aaron to save a jar, put it before Hashem. So they put it before the ark of the testimony. And the children of Israel ate manna for 40 years until they arrived in an uninhabited land, the land of Canaan. So the entire children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of sin to their journeys according to the word of Hashem. They encamped in Rephidim, and there was no water, so again they contended with Moshe, and they asked him for water. And Moshe says to them, "Why are you asking me? Why don't you ask Hashem?" So then, of course, they complained to Moshe again. "Why did you take us out of Egypt to kill us from thirst?" So Moshe cries to Hashem, and he's like, "What more can I do for these people? Anything else, and they're going to stone me." So Hashem was like, "Go to the people with the elders of Israel, take your staff, and I'm going to stand before you by the rock in Horeb. You're going to strike the rock, and water will come forth from it, and the people will drink." So Moshe did it in front of the elders of Israel and called the place Masa u Meribah, because the children of Israel were like, "Is Hashem here with us or not?" Amalek came and battled Israel in Rephidim. So Moshe told Joshua to choose people to battle with Amalek, and that the next day he would be on top of the hill with the staff of God in his hand. So Joshua did as he was told, and Moshe, Aaron, and Hur ascended to the top of the hill. And when Moshe would raise his hand, Israel was stronger, and when he lowered his hand, Amalek was stronger. Moshe's hands grew heavy, and they took a stone and they put it under him so that he could sit on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, each of them on one side of Moshe. And Moshe remained with his hands in faithful prayer until sunset. Joshua weakened Amalek. Hashem told Moshe, "Write this as a remembrance in the book and recite it in the ears of Joshua, that I will surely erase the memory of Amalek from under the heavens." So Moshe built an altar and he called it Hashem is my miracle. And he said, for the hand is on the throne of God. Hashem maintains a war against Amalek for generation to generation. And this is where the story ends. So we go back to the beginning, and Hashem is like, God forbid these people even see something that looks not kosher, because they're going to run back to Egypt the first chance they get. And so he led them to the wilderness. Wilderness is open space. When there's space, there's room for becoming. Now in Hebrew, wilderness is midbar. Midbar derives from the root davar, which is words or things or speech. And speech precedes creation. So when we experience emptiness, it's actually an opening of space so that something can be spoken into existence. Space plus speaking plus action equals creation. We often hear quotes like, when one door closes, another door opens, or sometimes good things fall apart so better things can fall together. And when we hear these quotes, we're consciously like, oh yeah, that's true. Love that. Love that for you. Makes total sense. But the physical sensation of losing something is far more difficult to contend with than the mental comprehension. How often do we lose friends, family, clients, or jobs, money, and we immediately go to panic? It's normal because our body is doing what it does best. It goes into survival mode. But leaving Egypt, leaving Mitzrayim, is not a test of survival, it's a test of alignment. And Moshe also took the bones of Yosef. Why is it significant? The children of Israel made a promise that when the Creator took them from Egypt, they would bring out the bones of Yosef. Generations later, lifetimes later, years of pain later, they held themselves accountable. How many times do we make promises to the Creator? Like, if you give me this much money, I'm going to give 10% every month. Or if you elect this person, I'm going to do tefillin every day. Or if you save me from this disease, I'm going to keep kosher. And maybe you do it for a little while and then you stop. Are you holding yourself accountable, or are you just temporarily paying a price? Moshe knew the power of accountability. Accountability proves intention, and intention indicates alignment or misalignment. So the children of Israel traveled from Sukkot, a divinely protected dwelling, to the wilderness, where they were protected by the pillars of cloud and fire. What are we to understand? We perceive the wilderness or emptiness as loneliness. And we've been conditioned to understand that loneliness is something negative. But we remember Noah was alone. Abraham stepped out alone. Isaac was the only son. Yaakov left alone. Yosef was forced out alone. And Moshe encountered the bush alone. And now in the loneliness, we're told that there are divine pillars of cloud and fire. To be alone looks scary to the body because the body differentiates. The body needs physical sensation, but the body is only a vessel. The body is also temporary. To be alone for the soul feels expansive because it's no longer overwhelmed by external things. The soul can just be. But what is the soul? It's an individual expression of the Creator's light. And being alone allows you to connect to and remember that which you are, light. And when you remember your light, you can more simply commune directly with the Creator. So we fast forward a bit, and the people of Egypt are like, oh my gosh, what happened? You mean the slaves don't want to be slaves anymore? Remember how foolish this sounds when people in your life that you have chosen to manipulate, take advantage of, lie to, or control choose to leave you. When you point a finger, there are three pointing back at you. And then something interesting happens. It no longer refers to Pharaoh as going after them. It says Egypt is going after them. Egypt in Hebrew is Mitzrayim, and Mitzrayim means constriction, limiting beliefs, self-doubt, unworthiness. When you choose to become better or to evolve, to become more of yourself, what happens? Your ego shuts down and all of the roots come up. I don't deserve this, or how am I going to do this, or who am I to want more, or I can't do this by myself, or if I just stayed where I was, I would be fine. If I stayed where I'm comfortable, at least I'll be safe. Sound familiar? And then maybe you have a Moshe voice in your head encouraging you to keep going. And then the Creator says something very poignant to Moshe. Why are you crying to me? Tell them to keep going. Why is it poignant? Because it goes back to accountability. The Creator never forgets his side of the deal. The Creator never forgets accountability. The Creator never forgets actions follows speaking. But we do. We say something and we don't do it. We choose to make claims and then we don't follow through. The action is the accountability of the words. We often hear that we're co-creators with the Creator. But in order to co-create, we have to participate. Participation is accountability. Participation is action. Most of the time, we just want the Creator to give to us without having to actually do anything. And we've confused lack of action with rest. Rest or Shabbat doesn't mean don't do anything and you're going to receive everything. To rest means to take action as though it's already been done. This is co-creation. We are the vessel here on earth, Malchut, physically manifesting, moving, taking action on behalf in participation with the Creator. And the Creator fills in the gaps. However, if the vessel stops moving or taking action, the Creator literally has no place to put or move anything. If you have a glass, you pour water into it and drink from the water, you'll pour more water so that you can continue drinking. However, if you have a glass, you pour water into it, you don't drink, you have to stop pouring because no action is being taken. The glass is no longer being used for its purpose. It's stagnant, and you are no longer co-creating a purpose with that glass. How many times do you stop moving forward with a project because you don't immediately see growth or see results? Are you a glass that chooses to pour with purpose and to be refilled, or are you a glass that chooses to remain stagnant because you don't know which mouths you're going to nourish? Okay, so we fast forward some more and we know the sea splits and there's this huge show of a miracle and this amazing big thing happens and the children of Israel are enamored by the glitz and the glamour, by the big show. And they're like, wow, Hashem, Moshe, you're amazing. And then they sing songs. So 3 days later, 3 days, only 3, they were thirsty and they forgot. They forgot about all the plagues. They forgot that none of them died. They forgot that they literally saw a sea split. They forgot that they saw Egyptians dead in front of them. They forgot the Creator never breaks promises. They forgot that the Creator literally moved the world for them. They forgot who they were, and they forgot to be aligned with the Creator. The children of Israel were so quick to flip on Moshe after they just proclaimed how great he was. But was there frustration with Moshe or with the situation? When you encounter a hurdle or an obstacle, do you blame the people or do you blame the circumstance? Blaming a person is like throwing your hands up and saying, I'm not co-creating this, you co-created it and you ruined it. Blaming a person removes your accountability. Blaming a person is choosing to see them as the creator. Blaming a person is idolization. Blaming a person is also misalignment. Stop being a victim of your perceived circumstances and step into the role of co-creator. Stop complaining that you don't have water and talk to your partner in creation. Ask. How easy do we find it to complain about something instead of politely asking? How often do we catastrophize something instead of simply asking for the solution? How often do we choose to complain instead of choosing to co create? I'm not saying that it's easy in the slightest. Panic is a physiological sensation that takes over the body and it can cause your body to shut down. However, just because something is a challenge and it's not necessarily easy doesn't mean that it's impossible. A lot of us are afraid to ask for what we want, and that fear can come from different places. Sometimes it's a lack of worthiness. Sometimes it's a fear of stepping fully into the responsibility of what we want because we know that we'll be heard. Sometimes we simply fear that no one will listen. And sometimes our fear of asking comes from people rejecting or dismissing our curiosity in the past, which is the most unfortunate of them all. We move forward and we're told that it was the 15th day of the second month. We know classically that the second symbolizes separation. Each month has about 30 days, so we know we are halfway through a test of separation. And what is the test? The Creator said, I'm going to give them food to see if they're going to follow my teachings. Will they choose alignment or misalignment? This is always the core choice that we have. And now Moshe and Aaron start to get annoyed and they're like, we're simply vessels. You're not mad at us, you're mad at the Creator. Placing accountability back into their hands so that they could connect directly with the Creator themselves. So, what happens? Some people take what they were supposed to take, which is alignment. Some people take more than they were supposed to take, greed. And some people take less than they were supposed to take, fear. And then what happened? Everyone ended up with exactly what they needed. So, what's the lesson? Divine balance always wins. And it also means mind your business. Don't be worried about if somebody is greedy or if they're doing something they're not supposed to do. The Creator will give them exactly what they need, maybe in this lifetime, maybe in the next. Don't be worried if somebody isn't getting what you think they should be getting. Don't pity anybody. The Creator is giving them exactly what they need. You have absolutely no idea what someone has done in their previous lifetime or even in this lifetime. Why? Because it's none of your business. So, what happens to them in this lifetime or the next is none of your business. Stay in your lane, stay aligned. Do what you need to do to have divine balance, and you will have what you need. It's so funny how we like to be all up in the results, but a few moments ago, when you had the chance to be a co-creator, you wanted to throw your hands up and be like, don't look at me, it's all on you. But now you see the results and you want to have a problem with it. So you want the reward, but you don't want the responsibility. You want the words, but you don't want the action. You want to say that you're BFFs with God, but you don't want to put in the effort to make the connection. So then what happens? They're given the tool to remain aligned. Don't save any food overnight during the 6 days. And they choose not to follow. They choose misalignment. Well, if I save enough now, I don't have to worry about tomorrow. It's a mix of laziness and also a lack of trust. Well, I don't want to get up tomorrow and do work. No action, no accountability, no purpose. Well, How do I know that I'm going to have food tomorrow? No connection, no vessel. Choosing to trust is choosing to connect. Connection builds relationship. Relationship creates a container or a vessel. A vessel creates a purpose, and a purpose requires accountability. The 6 days are 6 different opportunities to choose to trust so that we can become the vessel to receive infinitely. A vessel that receives infinitely is a vessel in Shabbat. You claim to rest on Shabbat, but have you done the work from Yom Rishon to Yom Shishi to choose trust and co-create so that you become a vessel that receives infinitely on Shabbat? Why did the food not rot on the seventh day? Because they were given the tool to be aligned. Prepare double portions. They listened this time, but were they really choosing alignment? Or was it that since they knew that they prepared themselves, they didn't need to worry? What's the point? Are the 6 days trying to teach us a lesson, or is the seventh day teaching us a lesson? Are they teaching us the same lesson? I would say arguably the seventh day is one of the most critical lessons that I think most people miss. The children of Israel were told by the Creator to prepare for the next day, and they did. The Creator spoke or guided, and the children took the action. It's co-creation. Because they co-created, they naturally didn't have worry. Arguably, not because they chose to trust, but because they knew that they did the work that they needed to do to make something happen. So for 6 days, we worried, and we chose to trust that what we know is more than what the Creator knows. We chose to trust taking action from our own guidance. This is not co-creation. So what happened? We got maggots in our food. On the seventh day, we listened because we knew the outcome. It's still not co-creation. Day 7 is supposed to look like the Creator is doing his part, giving me guidance through speaking to me, and I will co-create with him, follow the guidance, and be the physical action. Speech precedes action. You have to have both to create reality. This is how we co-create. Day 7 is the rehearsal for the other 6 days. It's the prime example of allow my words to guide you and then you take action. I've said this before and I'm sure I'll say it again. Day 7, Shabbat, is a state of mind intended for the entire week. You decided that it was one day. You decided that day 7 only happens because you know the outcome. Day 7 energy is not Shabbat energy. Shabbat isn't about knowing the outcome and choosing to stop taking action. Shabbat is about listening to the Creator's guidance and choosing to act without knowing, choosing to act while resting your need to know, choosing to trust that my cup is going to be filled because He said that it would be filled. So for 40 years, total of 40, the children of Israel had this lesson. Why 40? Because 4 is the number of foundation. And what happened? They failed the test again. They got to a new place in the desert, didn't have water, and what did they do? They sure were not operating in Shabbat energy. They blamed Moshe. And who can blame him for getting annoyed by these people? They don't listen. To this day, we don't listen. We blame people. We blame sages. We blame rabbis. We blame politicians, celebrities, Christians, Islam, climate change, our parents, husband, wife, our kids. We go through a list of millions of people and we never go to the Creator. Ding dong. Obviously, in 5786, still nobody's home. Okay, so now we have the whole Amalek situation. Amalek comes from a root that means trouble, labor, toil. When toiling, hard labor approached the children of Israel. Moshe prayed, what do you do when you have hard work? You keep working harder. And doesn't sound like co-creation to me. So at some point, his hands became heavier and heavier and heavier, and Aaron and Hur supported his hands. Aaron means elevated one, enlightened one, and Hur symbolically means a space or hole. So what's the meaning? When labor becomes intensive and we continue to toil, go to your creator in an elevated state with an open heart and an open mind. And it ends with Hashem maintains a war with Amalek from generation to generation. Can it get more obvious than this? It's literally telling us that this is the cycle that we need to break. The Creator literally is fighting with labor, which we willingly choose, generation after generation. And listen, I struggle with it too. I'm human. We all are. However, I'm aware and I work on being in Shabbat energy every day. I challenge myself every day not to stop worrying, because if you fight the thoughts, they become stronger and stronger. And we're human. So you have to be gentle with yourself. When these thoughts come, you don't fight them. First of all, remind yourself to be present, because if you're present, then you're not worried. And if you're present, you allow your soul to take the driver's seat. And then you place yourself in a position to feel the light of the Creator. And if you choose to be still enough to be with Him, He will speak with you. And then it's your choice, day 7 energy or Shabbat energy. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.